Jeremy, as I mentioned, you recently sat down with Steve Bannon for the latest edition of the New York Times podcast, The Daily. Just released moments ago, the episode titled Steve Bannon's Battle for the Soul of MAGA. In it, Bannon talks to Jeremy about what he says are the three pillars of the Make America Great Again movement: free trade, immigration, and military intervention. Always outspoken, fair to say, Steve Bannon, but particularly now talking about Elon Musk and some of his frustrations with the president and his relationships with people that Bannon and his allies view as oligarchs. They're sort of the enemy of their movement.
Right. I think Bannon calls them the broligarchs. But the question that people like Steve Bannon have been raising about the direction of the MAGA agenda is, who is this for? Right? Is it for the Trump voters who put him there? Or is it from Elon Musk, who also kind of put Trump there in bankrolling this large outside political operation? Right now, Trump has spent a lot of time listening to the people who have the money, the access, the influence to get a seat in the Roosevelt Room with him. What I think a lot of people in the populist right are concerned about is just how much Trump is willing to give away to appease interests like Elon Musk, interests like big donors, interests like big agriculture, like big restaurants, hospitality, because we know they've been lobbying Trump to dial back on some of his provisions that are most important to the MAGA base, like the deportations. The industries got in Trump's ear and tried to convince him to roll back deportations. They got in his ear and they convinced him that it would be a good idea to bomb Iran. These things all kind of lead to a slippery slope where folks like Bannon are concerned that this starts to look like just another traditional Republican presidency after a while. I mean, if they pass a bill like this that cuts taxes as deeply as it has, as it likely will, for the wealthy at the expense of programs that benefit MAGA voters like Medicaid. I mean, Bannon has said MAGA's on Medicaid, right? I mean, the voters are ultimately going to pay a price for a lot of what's in this bill, so it doesn't really, in a lot of ways, fulfill this promise that Trump has made that I am your voice, I am here standing up for you.
It's always been interesting that the populist, self-described populist Donald Trump of the MAGA movement, one of his signature achievements, and this isn't new, it's from 2017, is a massive tax cut for the wealthy. So it sounds like Bannon worries about Donald Trump himself almost alienating sections of his own movement.
Well, and you saw that start to happen during the debate over going into Iran. And there were people like Bannon, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Matt Gaetz, who are saying, you're going to lose a lot of voters. Because when we think about the Trump coalition and his rise to power, his total domination of the Republican establishment after 2016, you think about his appeal to the white working class, right? On these issues like immigration and trade. China's ripping us off. We're a stupid country. We're being taken advantage of. Build the wall, all that. But what you don't think about is the impact of what Trump said about foreign wars and how he went after the Bushes. And I've heard Joe talk about this a lot, just mercilessly mocked the Bushes for going into Iraq twice. And Trump said, I would never do something like that. Well, that appealed to to what became this working class base. And that message really carried forward into 2024 in a way that helped Trump get record numbers of Black and Hispanic voters along for the ride with him. I think what people like Bannon and the more MAGA populist right would say is you're putting that coalition, this very fragile MAGA coalition, diverse as it is, as uninterested in politics as a lot of these people are, you're risking alienating them and driving them out of the MAGA tent. So the next time Trump isn't on the ballot, they just don't show up unless Trump delivers on his promise to not be that traditional Republican president who gets us into wars and listens to lobbyists when they come to him and say, no, your immigration laws are too tough.
You can hear the full conversation on the latest episode of The Daily. It's available to stream now. Jeremy and Steve Bannon. Jeremy is, of course, the national reporter for the New York Times. Jeremy, thanks. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Willie.
Still ahead on